realized somewhere in the middle of the night, I left my body. I found myself flying through this star-filled realm, moving through these colored stars and these orbs. I felt like I had been released from a dark, stuffy closet. And I was now this huge, expanded balloon. It was the most exhilarating feeling, like somebody was pouring honey all over my brain, and it was running down through all my nerves, emotions of acceptance and joy. That was your vibration, that you were just this exuberant, overwhelmingly happy, joyful being. And you were home. It was just absolute ecstasy. There was another thing that was going on, and it was this knowledge. It's like all this knowledge is scripted on the universe. All you have to do is think about a subject and it just floods in. I remember as a kid in college, you had a thing called a microfiche. You bring that thing up on a screen, and then if you spun it, then the pages would just flash by. And that's what it was. It was just coming super fast. And there was just this flood of information. The whole script of a human being. It's all there on the skein of time. Nothing was impossible in that realm. As I was flying along, I remember one thing that was really powerful was, how in the world did I believe I was this dude? How did I believe I was Bill? I had this whole personality, and I had these relationships, I had these likes and dislikes. All of that had dropped away. It was like I was playing a game, and I was pretending to be this person, this human being. We're all just playing these parts. It's all a game. I think that the object of the game is, can we wake up in the game and realize who we are with joy and kindness and patience? So I was flying along, and everything was just marvelous. Everything was wonderful, and I just felt so at home. And then all of a sudden, I landed in a place that was solid. Right in front of me, there were these three little hooded guys, and they were overwhelmed to see me. And I felt immediately good in their presence. They were asking me questions all of a sudden, like, how was it? What did you see? What did you learn? What can you tell us? I was really confused, and they were amused by that. And one of them stepped forward, and he turned to the other two, and he said, "He doesn't remember us." And they all started giggling. It was like I had just gotten off the roller coaster, and they were my best friends, and they were back at the landing, and they all wanted to know, how was the roller coaster? And I hadn't really gotten my wits about me to tell them. This other guy, he was like this tall, wispy guy. He's made out of energy, like a swirling tornado or a whirlpool. He moved forward. Parts of him would separate and then catch up. And he had this big smile on his face. You could tell he was super happy, and more than that, you could feel his love. And as he got closer to me, my throat just tightened and my chest was like overinflating. I felt like I was going to drop to my knees and break down, crying uncontrollably from love. Historically, our ancestors, they have names for them. They're these non-physical beings that bounce between our ability to perceive them. And they called them things like helpers, guides, angels. Yeah, I do think this is some sort of connection to a higher self. So I said, what's next? A review of my life? You guys want to get started with that? Something in me, that fire captain experience or something, was, okay, there's a procedure here, and let's get busy with it. The tall, wispy guy, he just cracked up. When he stopped chuckling, he said, okay, sure, let's do that. This wasn't a review of life. This was a show and tell. It was like a tour of the dimensions of our situation here. I didn't have any huge regrets. I told a few stories about jobs I wish I'd taken, and a couple other things. And then it was almost comical. He just stepped forward like a father, like picking a toddler off the ground, He says, okay, that's enough. Time to go back. That just shocked the heck out of me. I was like, go back? You gotta be kidding me. And he goes, no, you gotta go back. I said, no way. There's no reason for me to go back. I knew there was more out there, and I didn't have any fear about where I was or where I was going. As I said, I really won't be that missed. My wife and my parents, they'll be pretty sad for a couple of weeks, but they'll come out of it, and they're strong people. He's like, look, you're going back. You got things to do, and they're important. The room just started to break up. It just started to come apart. And he just kind of evaporated in front of me, and I could feel a falling sensation. And I dropped away from that in-between place. And I fell away into darkness. I found myself back in my body, and I had this automatic blood pressure cuff, and I think that the squeezing of that would wake me up to some degree. And I could notice that the blood pressure was, each time it fired up, that the numbers were higher and it was climbing. When I got in the 70s, 70 over 40 or something like that, I could stay awake. Nurse came by and she saw my little face peering back at her, and she's startled, and she's like, you're awake? And I'm like, yes, I am. She said, I have to tell the doctor immediately because we've been so worried. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. You can tell the doctor. But first, what am I doing back here? I wanted answers to that. I said, I was home. I was home with my best bros. How is it that I came back to this place? I was pissed. I was absolutely convinced that my body was behind me, and I was pretending to be Bill Letson, and I wasn't any longer. Now I was back in Bill Letson. And she was one of these old gum-chewing nurses, and she said, honey, you've been in escrow, but you fell out of escrow, and now you're back with us, and you're gonna have to get your head around that. I spent probably a few days being depressed, not clinical or anything, just very, very sad. I saw that heavenly realm. I saw that in-between place. I was ready to move on. You come to this realization that, well, I'm not going back there. When I was back on duty, everyone wanted to know, we heard you had this thing happen, in the hospital. And I was like, yes, I did. Sit down. And I would tell them. I was full of the other side. And I wanted to pass it on to everybody. I told that story for a week or two, and then one of the guys from the office said, hey, they're starting to talk about you up there in the chief's office. So you better, put that story away. So I dummied up, and I zipped it for about 15 years. I didn't forget it, and I didn't dismiss it. It had to cook with me over all those years. And when I retired, it came roaring back. I was getting whispered to. This is how our soul talks to us. It was like I was being nudged just to explore Central America and to hang out with shamans and to pay attention to what Native Americans knew, these ancient civilizations like the Mayans, what they knew about this place and our place in it. I was told to go into these places where everything's slowed down. There's no Wi-Fi, there's no routers, and get back to the stillness. And if you get quiet enough, the soul can speak to you. And most of us are not in an environment where we can become that still, that meditative state that opens something up to experience more. Well, we don't have to fly to Pluto. It's all right here. You need to raise your vibration through that great spirit, source energy, the sun, and the veil starts to break down in front of you. This is a Earth school. It's a school of hard knocks, where we learn by experiences. We signed up for all the joy and all the adventures and all the fun that goes on with this place. And we also signed up for 3 or 4 big tsunamis coming through our lives. It's all about growing in our capacity to love, regardless of the circumstances. Choosing the higher vibration. I think every second, every moment, every now is a new opportunity. How are you going to choose? You know, as soon as I get in my car, is that guy that's tailgating me, am I going to get ticked off? Or am I going to be, oh, wow, did I just get over? It's your choice. It's always your choice. People get overwhelmed with the self, the physical world self, the illusion of being this being. Be nice, be patient, be kind in all circumstances. There are thousands of souls watching all of us all the time. Our loved ones, our ancestors, our pets. And they're not judging. They're hoping we'll make the higher vibrational decisions that will evolve, will grow as souls. That's our whole point of being here. And when it becomes selfless and helping others and sweetness and kindness and compassion, you get to leave. We're being groomed to be gods, basically, and to go out into the universe that's ever expanding and continue the work of creation.